Hi everyone. Welcome back to Daily Drizzle English, your gentle companion on the journey to thinking and speaking in English, one soft story at a time. I'm so glad you're here with me today. In this video, we'll follow an inspiring personal story about learning to think English, not just study it. And if you're looking for a real way to train your brain to use English every day, from the inside out, then this story is for you. Also, if you want to speak more confidently, you can try something called shadowing. What is shadowing? It's a simple but powerful way to improve your English. You just listen to me and then repeat exactly what I say, like you're my echo, my English shadow. I'll speak slowly and clearly and pause after each sentence so you can follow along with ease. Don't worry about mistakes. Don't worry about speed. This is your space to learn gently at your own rhythm. Now let me introduce you to our main character. Her name is Sarah. She's a kind, curious learner who wanted more than just memorizing grammar rules. She wanted to feel English from the inside. And what she discovered might surprise you. Let's begin her story. Hello, my name is Sarah. I want to tell you about my journey, how I trained my brain to think in English. It wasn't easy at first, but slowly I found my way. And today I'm going to share it with you step by step. For a long time, I thought I was learning English the right way. I watched videos on YouTube, followed English pages on Instagram, and even tried reading English storybooks for kids. I had notebooks full of English words and their meanings in my own language. Every day, I practiced vocabulary and repeated common phrases like, "How are you?" and "Nice to meet you." I was proud of myself. I thought I was doing well. But even with all that effort, something felt strange. When someone spoke to me in English, I paused. My brain didn't react fast. First, I had to hear the English words. Then I had to change them into my own language to understand them. After that, I had to think of a reply in my language and then change it into English again before I spoke. This took so much time. It made me nervous and slow. I felt like my brain was carrying too much weight. At first, I didn't know what the real problem was. I just thought maybe I needed to study more words. Maybe my grammar was weak, so I kept learning. I wrote new words every day. I repeated grammar rules like do and does, is and are, past tense and present tense. But nothing changed. I still had to translate everything in my mind. I still couldn't speak smoothly. One day, I was trying to speak with a tourist at a museum in my town. He asked me, "How far is the main street from here?" I knew what how far meant. I knew what Main Street meant. But even then, I froze. My brain first heard the question, turned it into my native language, searched for an answer, then tried to change it into English. By the time I opened my mouth, the man had already walked away. I felt so embarrassed. That moment stayed with me. I knew something had to change. That night, I sat on my bed and thought deeply. Why can't I speak fast like native speakers? I asked myself, why is it so hard for me to think in English? I remembered my English teacher once told me fluent English is not just about knowing words. It's about thinking in English. At that time, I didn't really understand her words. But now it hit me hard. I finally understood the problem. My brain was still living in my first language. Even though I had English books and English videos around me, my thoughts were not in English. My inner voice, yes, that little voice that speaks in your head when you're alone, was still using my native words. It was like I had two worlds. The world outside was trying to be English, but the world inside my head was not ready. Once I noticed this, I began watching myself more closely. I paid attention to what I was thinking. When I woke up, my brain said, I have to brush my teeth, but it said it in my own language. When I saw a dog on the street, I thought, that's a cute dog. But again, it was not in English. Everything I saw, felt, or said to myself was in the language I grew up with. English was only something I used when I needed to write or speak in class. It was not part of my daily thoughts. This was the reason why my speaking was slow. I wasn't used to thinking in English, so I couldn't respond quickly. I had built a wall in my mind between English and the rest of my life. So I made a decision. I told myself, Sarah, if you want to speak English better, you have to stop thinking in your first language. I didn't know how to do it. It sounded strange and scary, but I wanted to try. The next day, I began small. I woke up and looked around my room. I forced myself to name things in English. This is a bed. That is a window. My blanket is blue. I said the words in my mind. No voice, just quiet thoughts. It felt a little slow, but I kept going. When I brushed my teeth, I said to myself, I am brushing my teeth. My toothpaste is minty. The water is cold. I didn't care if it sounded silly. I just wanted to break the old habit. Later, while walking outside, I tried again. I looked at the trees and thought, the leaves are green. The sun is bright. I see a dog. These were very simple thoughts. But something interesting happened. My brain didn't fight me. It accepted the new way. I didn't feel tired or confused. In fact, it felt fun. It was like I was a little kid learning to see the world in a new way. For the first time, English was not just a subject I studied. It became part of my thinking. I kept doing this all day for small things. In the kitchen, I thought, I am washing the dishes. While folding my clothes, I said, this shirt is clean. These pants are soft. I started talking to myself more and more in my mind. It felt like I had a new friend inside me, an English-speaking version of myself. Still, it wasn't perfect. Sometimes I didn't know the English word for something. Like once I saw a bird on a wire and I wanted to describe it, but I didn't know the word wire. I felt stuck. For a moment, I thought of saying the word in my language, but then I told myself, no, Sarah, stay in English. So I said in my mind, the bird is sitting on a line, a black line, maybe a rope. It wasn't correct, but I stayed in English. That was a win for me. I learned that it's okay to not know perfect words. What matters is staying in the language. The more I stayed in English, the more comfortable I felt. My brain started getting used to it. Thinking in English became a small habit that I repeated every day. A week passed and I noticed something amazing. When I looked at a chair, my brain said chair right away, not the word from my first language. When I felt hungry, I didn't think I'm hungry in my old language. I thought it in English first. Even my dreams started to change. One night I dreamed I was in a grocery store asking the worker, where is the sugar? I woke up smiling. I was so happy because this was the first time I dreamed in English. It showed me that my brain was slowly switching. English was starting to live in my mind naturally. But of course, this was just the beginning. I still had a long way to go. Thinking in English for a few minutes was nice, but I wanted to do it all day. I wanted to be able to think fast, speak easily, and not return to my old language. So I started looking for more ways to stay inside English. I realized I needed more practice, not just with thinking, but also with speaking, even if I had no one to talk to. That's when a new idea came into my mind. I asked myself, what if I start speaking to myself out loud in English? I was already thinking in English at least sometimes. But now, I wanted to take the next step. I wanted to use my voice and speak to myself like I was talking to a friend. It sounded funny, but I thought it could help. My heart felt excited and nervous at the same time. That moment was the start of something new, something even more powerful. I didn't know it then, but what came next would change my English even faster. It would build my confidence and help me stay in the English world longer. After I noticed how often my thoughts were in my first language, and I started trying to think in English, my world slowly began to change. But even though my thoughts were becoming English little by little, I felt there was still something missing. It was like planting a seed but not watering it enough. I needed more. Just thinking in English helped. Yes. But I wanted to speak fluently, not just think quietly inside my head. One morning I was brushing my hair and thinking in English, saying in my mind, "My hair is long. It looks shiny today. I need to wash it tomorrow." But then I stopped and looked in the mirror. I whispered those same words out loud, just very softly. "My hair is long. It looks shiny today. I need to wash it tomorrow." The sound of my voice in English surprised me. It made everything feel more real. And in that tiny moment, I had a new idea that changed everything. I thought, what if I speak to myself out loud in English all the time? Not just in my head, not just when I write or read, but actually speak to myself like I'm having a conversation with a friend. But that friend is me. It felt strange at first. After all, people say talking to yourself is weird. But I wasn't doing it to be silly. I was doing it to train my brain. If I could hear my own voice speaking English every day, maybe my mouth would get used to it. Maybe my brain would start to connect my thoughts and my speech faster. Maybe, just maybe, I could break that slow habit of translating everything from my first language to English before I speak. That same day I started small. I walked to the kitchen and said out loud, "I am going to make some tea." My voice was soft. I was alone and I felt a little shy, even though no one was watching. I opened the drawer. I need a spoon. I picked up the cup. This is my favorite cup. I put the water to boil. The water is hot now. These were simple lines, but they helped me build something big. It was the start of a new habit. That entire day, I talked to myself while doing little things. While folding laundry, I said, "This shirt is mine. I wore it yesterday. It still smells fresh." When I was cleaning my room, I said, "I should throw away this paper. I don't need it." Even when I went outside, I whispered quietly to myself, "The weather is nice. It's not too cold today." At first, it was difficult to remember to do it all the time. My brain still wanted to switch back to my first language, but I didn't give up. I reminded myself again and again, "Sarah, speak in English." So I started setting little reminders on my phone with messages like, "Talk in English," or "Think and speak, not just think." These reminders would pop up during the day and gently push me to continue the habit. I began enjoying it. It was like building a new friendship with my voice. I didn't need perfect grammar. I didn't care if I made mistakes. I just wanted to hear myself say words in English. Slowly, I became more comfortable. Soon I realized something wonderful. My voice and my thoughts were becoming one. Before, my brain would think in my first language, and I had to push myself to speak English. Now the thoughts and the voice both came in English. It wasn't perfect, of course. Sometimes I forgot words, but I found ways to keep speaking. If I didn't know the word vacuum cleaner, I would just say, "the machine that cleans the carpet." If I didn't know how to say hanger, I'd say the thing I use to hang my shirt. I stopped worrying about finding the perfect word. I just kept going. And the more I kept going, the more my confidence grew. I also started creating little stories out loud while walking around. For example, if I was cooking rice, I would say, "Now I am going to make some rice. First, I will wash it. The water is cloudy. That means it's dirty. Now I pour the water out. Now I will cook it. I hope I don't burn it like last time." I laughed at myself sometimes. It was funny to hear myself telling small stories about such boring things, but it made the process fun. And most importantly, it helped me stay inside the English world longer. The longer I stayed inside English, the easier it became. One time, I even played a game with myself. I pretended I was making a YouTube video. I turned on my phone camera but didn't record and said, "Hello everyone. Welcome to my kitchen. Today I will show you how to make my special tea. First, we take the water. Then we add some ginger. Now we boil it." I acted like a real host. I smiled while speaking. I laughed when I forgot words and just kept going. I was playing, but I was also learning. I was training my voice to become friendly with English. Another day, I sat in front of my mirror and practiced conversations. I said, "Hi, my name is Sarah. Nice to meet you. How are you?" "I'm doing well, thank you." "What do you do?" Then I would answer as if I were the other person. "Oh, I'm a student. I love learning languages." Then I'd go back to being me. I even added hand gestures and facial expressions. I wanted to feel natural. I wanted to train myself for real conversations by making fake ones. And little by little, I started noticing changes. When someone spoke English to me in real life, I didn't freeze. My brain didn't stop. I was ready to speak back. My answers came faster. My voice didn't shake. My words flowed better. Of course, there were still tough days. Some mornings I woke up tired and didn't feel like talking at all. On those days, I gave myself a break, but I still tried to do a little, even if it was just one sentence, like, "Today I am feeling sleepy." I kept the chain alive. I learned that talking to myself in English didn't need to be a perfect performance. It was just a quiet promise I made to myself to keep speaking no matter what. And even when I was around people, I found clever ways to continue my habit. If I was walking to the grocery store, I would whisper softly under my mask. If I was on a bus, I'd pretend I was listening to music while quietly talking about what I saw outside. There's a boy with a red backpack. That woman has a kind face. The sky looks gray today. These small sentences help my brain stay connected to English all day long. Then something very special happened. One afternoon, I was walking in the park and saw a tourist family asking for directions. They were looking around, confused. I walked up to them and said, "Do you need help?" The man smiled and asked, "Yes, can you tell us how to get to the Central Library?" And to my surprise, I didn't freeze. I didn't need to translate anything in my mind. I just said, "Yes, go straight down this road, then turn right at the traffic light. It's the big building with blue glass windows." The words came naturally. I felt no fear. I felt strong. I felt proud. As I walked away, I whispered to myself, "You did it, Sarah. This is working." That night, I sat on my bed and thought about my journey so far, from being stuck in my own language to thinking in English to now speaking to myself all day. I had come so far. I realized that fluency is not just about grammar books or long vocabulary lists. It's about practice. Real, daily, simple practice. And for me, talking to myself became the most powerful way to train my speaking. It was like building a muscle. The more I used it, the stronger it got. But there was still one more thing I wanted to do. I wanted to use English in more places, not just at home or in my room. I wanted to use it during my real daily activities, while shopping, walking, cooking, cleaning, and everything else. I knew this next step would take more courage. I would have to use English even when people might hear me or look at me. I would have to carry English with me everywhere. And that, my friend, is exactly what I'm doing now. Now, when I wake up in the morning, I don't wait for English to come. It's already there. My thoughts come in simple words. My voice feels stronger. I don't need to be perfect. I just need to keep going. I don't worry about long vocabulary lists anymore. I don't try to impress anyone. I just speak, even if it's only to myself, and every word I say makes English feel more like home. So, my friend, if you're still waiting for the perfect time to feel fluent, stop waiting. Start small. Start with one word, one thought, one whisper in English. Don't be afraid of your voice. Don't be afraid of making mistakes. You don't need fancy grammar. You just need honesty and practice. That's how fluency begins. That's how confidence grows. That's how English becomes your language. And if this story helped you, if it made you smile or breathe a little easier, then I invite you to stay with me on this journey. Thank you for spending your time here. You're doing better than you think. Keep going, one small, simple English sentence at a time. I'll see you in the next story. Until then, take care and keep speaking softly, bravely, beautifully. You're becoming.